I now started the recording and everybody in the call has agreed to that and to the use of the interview.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. Hello, Mayur. I'm Maria. I work as a community journalist and manager for Edge Writers and art and design researcher. As I mentioned, usually I work from a co-working space, so have some first-hand experiences there, but of course nothing compared to your experiences with co-working and developing co-working. Could you start by introducing yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Maria. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to speak up. Uh, so it's a long story how I got into co-working. I started working remotely back in 2014 for an American startup, and I said, okay, I have the flexibility, so let me travel. Then I ended up visiting a lot of co-working spaces on the way. I spent like 3-4 years traveling within India and Southeast Asia, and I kind of got some perspective on the co-working as a concept because I probably visited 50 or 60 co-working spaces over the span of 3-4 years. Uh, then I also advised some co-working, co-living companies on their expansion, on their strategy. Uh, I also ended up advising the government of Goa on making Goa popular among digital nomads. So when we decided to move to Goa, it was very natural for me to start something of my own because I had developed a lot of insights into Goa, insights into co-working. All of that came together, and I started a co-working, co-living place in Goa last year. Um, it's called Nomad Gaon. It's in a village not too far from the beach. Uh, Apart from co-working, I'm a financial analyst. So that's what got me into remote job in the first place, and I ended up being a co-working, co-living operator. So yeah, that's about me.
Great. What role does your consultancy work and experience play in how you develop your co-working and co-living places?
So when I did the consultancy, I got to know a lot about I did a lot of research on what people are looking for, what sort of people you know travel and live in co-living places or work from co-working spaces. Apart from the the first-hand experience that I have had uh, being the co-worker myself. So that sort of helped me put a perspective to what I want to build, the kind of space that I want to build. And I think, yeah, what I built is a result of all of that put together.
That's great. Um, how have you been using digital technologies in your co-working space?
Yeah, so we are a small space. We have about 15 to 20 co-working seats, 5, 6 rooms. So it's fairly manageable without technology. Uh, and then, our focus has been on more on human interaction. So in the beginning, we didn't really pay much attention to technology. We said, okay, uh, let us just handle the space as a you know uh, as a place for people to come, mingle, talk to each other, make new friends, new connections. And because the size is so manageable, we didn't really worry too much about technology. But then uh, once we ended up having double bookings from different platforms, and then we said, okay, technology is must, even though the scale is small. In fact, the small scale sort of helps us in experimenting with technologies,
Mhm.
see what works best. Because I can't imagine how it would be when you have a 500 seater co-working and you want to try different products. Uh, so we use Cobot for the co-working space management. Um, to just to make sure that everything in the co-working space runs smoothly, and we sort of make it easy even for our customers to pay, or for that matter to sign up. Um, and because we also have co-living, so we have to use other digital technologies as well. So
Mm.
for the co-living, we are listed on Airbnb. We also run our own platform. So we use Channel Manager, Cloud Beds, which helps us make sure that double bookings don't happen, and you know the rates and everything goes to different channels smoothly. Uh, when it comes to social media, we have been using, uh, we use social media extensively because we are a new space, and to reach out to our potential customers.
Hmm.
Uh, I think social media is the best way to go about it, because we are developing the digital nomad scene in Goa. So we are actually promoting Goa and then promoting our space. So we use social media extensively. Um, Apart from that, I don't see much. Yeah. So these are the things that we have been working with.
Thank you very much. You just mentioned that your small size allows you to do experiments and try something out. Can you give an example of such an experiment? Either one that failed or one that was successful?
Yeah. So for the co-working space management, we tried 2 or 3 different softwares, um, and we could do that because we have, like, most of our members are in-house; they stay here. So for the co-working management as such, we just need a software that takes care of 8 to 10 people. Uh, so when something goes wrong, it's much easier to talk to our customers and apologize, and make sure that we break the ice. So when I talk about experimentation, I think it's more about making sure that our customers are okay with the new things we are trying. And I think that would be much harder to do in bigger spaces.
Mm. What has changed, or what have you changed in your concrete space since the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis?
So we were in lockdown for over 2 months. So our space was practically closed for outsiders. Those who were staying here were using the space. Uh, and I think that gave us a lot of time into thinking about how we really want the systems to be. So, for example, earlier we have separate system for co-working, separate system for co-living, and then one another system for accounting. And these systems didn't really talk to each other. So we did a lot of manual work, and uh, you know, fetching bookings from the booking platform, putting them in the accounting system, or fetching bookings from Cobot and putting them in the accounting system. Uh, so these 2-3 months of lockdown and COVID helped us in sort of automating few of the things. So now we use Zapier to integrate all these products. So our accounting system gets the data from Cobot, data from the channel manager. So it has streamlined quite a bit. Um, and I think in COVID, we are focusing more on automating, to reduce the manual, intervention, because um, for such a small space, I feel that you know humans need not spend their time in things that can be automated easily. You know, they should, as a co-working space or as a co-living space, I feel that people who are working with me, my team, should be focusing more on building the community, or focusing on making sure that everybody here is happy, or should focus on connecting people with each other to derive synergies or collaborations. So that's I think that is something which had changed in last couple of months. The focus on automation and focus on non-transactional human interaction.
So do I understand correctly that you understand technology mainly as a tool that allows you to automate tasks that you for the accounting, for the overhead of the place, so you have more time for direct human interactions?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you also use technology for communicative or social interactions, or um, do you focus on that being face to face?
Uh, because our community size is very small.
Mhm,
uh, I prefer to focus on that face to face.
mhm,
But then with COVID and a lot of digitization happening around, we are sort of focusing on building our Facebook community
mm.
and making it more engaging. Um, it's a hard task to make virtual community engaging, but hopefully we'll get there.
What have been the biggest changes and challenges you have perceived in your own community and in the digital nomad scene in Goa since the crisis?
Uh, in terms of community, I think people are spending longer time here because either they're locked down or we have some members who said okay they didn't want to be in big cities in India, so they came over to Goa and uh, they're working from our space, they're living at our space. So I think the biggest change is the demographics. Earlier we had 80% expats or foreigners or digital nomads, non-Indian digital nomads. But now that borders are closed and flights are not operating, uh, we have seen that demographics changing. So right now we have just one or two members who are non-Indians. The rest of them are Indians, and I think we sort of made the shift pretty quickly. We started marketing our space to Indians, our space to locals,
Mhm.
and I think we have seen that result.
Do you do you think that that change will also continue um, after the crisis in
Uh,
demographic?
so I think yeah, until next year we'll see that change continuing, because when the flights will start, they'll be you know expensive because airlines may have to keep vacant seats. Then there would be a lot of compliance with regard to testing and quarantine and all. So we don't expect a lot of people to you know fly. A lot of digital nomads to fly.
Mm.
Um, so I think until next year we'll see that trend continuing. But beyond that, I think it will be balanced. We expect it to be because a lot of Indian companies are now going remote. Earlier, there was not really remote work culture in India, and now with a lot of Indian companies going remote, a lot of Indian companies opting to give work to freelancers, we'll see a lot of Indians coming here. So yeah,
Um, what software are you using to manage your space?
we are using Cobot.
What does that exactly do for you?
Uh, so you know, it does a lot of things for us. We have different plans, so it takes care of we don't really have to worry about which customer is signing for which plan. We just need to send them the link for that plan, and it's easy. It also takes care of invoicing. So far, we have been using invoicing from our accounting system, but now we are integrating these two, so it becomes much easier. Then it also allows us to have a public community directory, so that people can talk to each other, they know
Mm.
each other. So, for example, if a new member comes in who needs a designer, and if we have had a designer in the past, it's much easier to connect, uh, directly through Cobot member directory. It also gives us some insights about member demographics,
Mm.
uh, to focus our marketing efforts, or to focus on overall strategy. Uh, so yeah, these things I have been using very extensively so far.
Does it also allow for access for your users to enter the
It,
spaces?
it does allow access control, but I think there is a add-on product that you need to purchase.
Hmm.
Uh, we haven't done that so far because again, it's a matter of scale. Being small, we can manage that manually, efficiently.
Mm.
Uh, Over the time, I think we'll move to automated access control.
Okay. So you said that you have observed some changes in who uses your spaces and how they're used. What are your thoughts on the future? How is your space and your community going to develop?
Uh, I'm quite excited about the future. Uh,
That's great.
you know, in fact, we are getting a lot of inquiries for the future. A lot of Indian companies are approaching us. We don't really have the capacity, so we are sort of trying to, get some inventory from friends around who have villas and apartments. Um, in the future, I think, so far we were focused solely on digital nomads, but now we are getting a lot of artists who want a break from big cities to stay with us. Then, as I said, the enterprise part is going to grow, because companies will need places for offline retreats, or you know they will need offices in exotic destinations,
Mm.
and we are quite there right now. So I think these are the you know new changes that will happen in customer demographics.
So you said you see like drive there for Indian companies to use this more, and that you're working with people to get like the facility set up fast enough, and there is request. Do you think on a larger scale there's a necessity for the country to build up places like that? And do you see any role in that for the state, or do you think that is a wholly private development and enterprise?
I feel that government should be involved in this. Um, because policies matter. For example, when you focus on digital nomads, the visa situation is a gray area, where there is no visa for digital nomads. Now Estonia is doing it, or Thailand is doing smart visa. But unless government gets involved, there won't be a legitimacy to digital nomads. Another thing is, government also needs to focus on building the ecosystem, not just spaces, but then, you know, encouraging internet service providers to invest and, have better networks at such places, or creating some basic facilities like, for example, I consulted Goa government on attracting digital nomads back in 2018. So Goa is a great place. Uh, you are most welcome to come over here. But it lacks certain basic things like, if you want to, for example, give your clothes for laundry, you'll have to really spend 15-20 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour trying to find a place.
Mm.
Um, so smaller things like these matter, and I think government can help uh, in getting all that basic ecosystem in place. So I'm glad that some of the Indian governments, they're actually acting on this. So there is a local government in a state of Kerala. They have they are surveying people on a program called Work Near Home to invite people from the state working abroad back to their state, uh, asking them to convince their employers to give them remote work, and then set up infrastructure for like co-working infrastructure, so that people can actually work from places in the state.
Hmm.
Uh,
So there is a movement to develop local and rural co-working spaces.
yes, there is a movement happening, uh, but government being government, it also had challenges.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Can you tell us a little bit about those?
India is known for its bureaucracy, kind of you know getting better, but then to build this kind of infrastructure, you have to move really fast.
Mm.
Uh, and I am positively skeptical, or whatever you call it as, about government's ability in building these.
Mm.
So government sort of needs to partner with private organizations or people who know the industry well to make it happen.
Would you see co-working spaces as intentional anti-bureaucracy spaces?
Uh, yeah, I mean, co-working spaces by nature are very open, friendly, but then I don't see them anti-bureaucratic. I just feel that these are two different ways. In fact, Government of India has also launched its own work from home program where people will have to work from home for at least 15 days in a year. Some of the public sector organizations are launching their own work from home programs. So I think over the time we'll see government getting more active into this space, building own co-working spaces for their own employees or employees of other sector companies.
Okay, great. Thank you. Before you said, and I really liked it, that you really look positively into the future. Um, but are there challenges that you see, and what would be the biggest technological challenge that you see concretely for the work you're doing?
Okay, so uh, the biggest challenge that I feel is uh, using this power of remote work to kind of have a distributed world or more equal world. Um, we have this tool, very beautiful tool called remote work to make it happen. Uh, but then, especially in countries like India, if co-working spaces sprout in tier two, three cities or rural areas, it would be a great equalizer, because then a lot of people in India go to big cities just because they have a job there. Uh, but if they can work remotely, go back to their villages or hometowns, it kind of lead to equality. In fact, yesterday I read an interesting piece about a company, like a unicorn company in India, whose founder works from a village, and they are sort of building offices, small offices in different villages, so that people who belong to nearby villages can work from there, so that they don't have to commute or move to a bigger city. And that's quite interesting. But to make it happen at a bigger scale, we are a country of 1.3 billion people, right? And to make it happen on bigger scale is challenging. And in terms of technology, I think technology can play a great role in this. It all starts with having the basic internet infrastructure for all. If it is spread out well, if all the areas, rural, let it be rural or urban, kind of get the same internet connectivity, it's much easier to you know to make the reverse shift happen. Um, Second thing is, so with that in mind, we are also working on a, social program called Program Panchayat. So the idea is to, to have volunteers who have remote job or remote work to go to villages, spend 3 months, 6 months there, spend a couple of hours a day in educating the rural population on using technology, uh, and then also learning, sustainable ways of living or farming for that matter,
Hmm.
to kind of bridge this gap, urban-rural gap. Uh, so I feel, yeah, the next big challenge is to bridge the gap and reduce the inequality.
Um, what kind of solutions and initiatives are you involved in and developing that are facing this, that are bridging these gaps?
Yeah. So as I said, this program Panchayat is the first initiative right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we are a space based in a village in Goa, right? So that is sort of helping. We run skill share programs. We try to sort of integrate the local community into what we are doing. Uh, we plan to continue that in different places uh, over the next couple of years. Uh, so yeah, I think these two projects are big enough in their own, you know, in their own way. And if we can make it happen, I think, yeah, I feel that we have made some impact if this happens.
That's great. So you combine a co-working space with a co-living space, and
Yeah,
you also have some skill share programs.
yeah.
So, um, how connected are all of these? How much of your community is involved in um, all three of these arms of the holistic approach?
Yeah. So most of our members stay with us. They come for a month, end up being here for 3 months because they love the space and they love this family vibe because it's such a small space and everybody knows each other and everybody knows the stories behind each other. In terms of skill share, actually our community members actively, you know, uh, share what they know, share their own skills, and we kind of record them, put them on YouTube. Um, we sometimes invite locals to come over for these skill shares. Uh, so, in terms of integration between co-working, co-living, skill share, and everything else that we are doing, I feel that we are quite integrated. Our community does all of this.
Okay, great. How does it work for you to onboard new people? Like if somebody comes new and hasn't seen the place, who does show them around? Who does tell them how it happens? Do you have a system for that, or does it just happen?
So far, it was me or my wife. But now we are hiring community manager. Hopefully that will happen in the next month or two, to take care of this, so that we can focus on the social project or to really, take this model and kind of expand. Uh, yeah, so we don't use technology in onboarding uh, because I feel that what sets us apart is the family feel, the warmth. And if we use technology to onboard, I think the first impression will not be as great. So we walk around, show them around, give them some tips. Uh, but yeah, eventually maybe we'll have to automate some of it to technology. But right now it's just manual.
Okay, great. Then how about let's close with the last view into the future, or two views. One would be the worst thing that could happen to your place and your community right now, and what is the best thing that could develop out of this situation that we're in right now?
Yeah. Uh, I'll think about the positive first.
Okay.
So I think the positive would be the best thing that could happen is we build something to make India popular among digital nomads. I've been working towards it for last 4 years, uh, and the best thing would be to make that happen. And I feel we are quite, the stage is set to make that happen. Uh, we just need to be consistent, and we just need to keep doing what we are doing and keep doing it better. Um, Worst thing, I don't really know because you know, touch wood, but we have not really faced the heat of coronavirus
Mm.
so far because right now we are running at 100% capacity, um, and even during the lockdown we were at 50%.
Mhm.
Uh, so it kind of paid our bills. I'm not sure if there is any because I feel that whatever worse had to happen has already happened, and now we are sort of on a growth trajectory.
Okay, that is great. And you can adapt to what comes your way
Yeah,
and have
because we are
trust in that.
small and nimble, so we can adapt quickly. Uh, yeah.
That is great. Um, I think we lost Rowena on the way to her laptop battery. Um, that was some very, very interesting insights into co-working and digital nomad sector and society in India. And I thank you very, very much for that. If there's anything else that you, from your perspective, think that is something that you want to share, then please feel free. Um, and yeah, otherwise, I say
Yeah, my pleasure for being here. Uh, you know, being interviewed by you. One thing that I would like to say is, so so far co-working in India was just the urban co-working, 500-seater co-working spaces, and big cities.
mhm,
But I think that model is going to change now.
mhm,
uh, with population getting distributed, with a lot of people going for remote work. Uh, Co-working would not be just about real estate. It's not a real estate business anymore, right? Because with social distancing and all the economics of co-working have changed. You'll probably have to fit in lesser number of people in the space that you uh, leased for some amount, considering you'll fit Y number of people. Um, so I think now it's time to focus on building the human connection rather than uh, building a space, and we are trying to do that here.
That's a beautiful notion. Co-working is not a real estate business anymore. It is about the communities and the human connections. That's great. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a matter of time till co-working starts picking up again. There will be some hard time, uh, but I think it will pass.